I'm at the Erez crossing, which is the border crossing for civilians to come in and out of Gaza. It's quite near the Beit Lahia district in the north of the Gaza Strip, where leaflets were dropped by the Israeli Defense Forces over the course of the day, warning residents that they would target Hamas targets in that large area. It's populated by about 400,000 people, so it's quite a big area, and telling them that they should leave their homes immediately and that they had been warned. And as we've been standing here in the last 20 minutes or so, we've seen two large plumes of grey smoke rising up from the area, which is that neighbourhood, presumably Israeli airstrikes. Perhaps the Israeli Defense Forces is now making good on that promise to strike what they say is a hotbed, really, of rocket launching sites. They say that that area is where a lot of Hamas's long-range missiles going up towards Tel Aviv in the north are situated, and that's why they're telling people to get out. The Ministry of Interior, though, in the Gaza Strip, which is clearly a Hamas-denominated body, has been telling residents not to leave. And frankly, the question is that you'll hear from people in Gaza all the time, where do we have to go? It is one of the most densely populated places on earth, between the sea, and this barrier fence here, and people don't have anywhere to go. We know
at least 776 Palestinians have been killed in 2 weeks of Israeli shelling in the Gaza Strip. The latest casualties caused by an airstrike, we're told, at a UN school in Beit Hanun. At least 30 people have been killed and around 100 injured in that attack. Nicole Johnson joins us now live from Gaza. We're getting grisly details coming through from Beit Hanun. What are you hearing, Nicole?
That's right, Sammy. The information is still quite sketchy. We have a team there on the moment, so they're on their way there at the moment, so they'll be able to provide more information. But as you said, the reports are that some 30 people have been killed by tank shelling in the northern part of the Gaza Strip on this UNRWA school, and that it could be 100 or more than 100 people injured. Now, we know that there are hundreds of people who have gone to these United Nations schools to try and get some kind of protection from the bombardment. People have left the eastern flank of the Gaza Strip as well as the north, and they've moved to around 70 different schools. Now, they go to these places because they think that they'll be safe. Some people don't go because they don't believe that anywhere is safe. And as it turns out, on this particular occasion at Beit Hanun, it seems that a United Nations school has been hit, and it's no longer a safe place for Palestinians to go to try and escape the Israeli tank shelling.
From the UN Palestinian Refugee Agency, UNRWA, that there are 4,000 people who've sought shelter in some of their shelters. Israel says that they are trying to be as precise as possible, that they are targeting this, if it's a Hamas command and control center, which are very often just people's homes, that they will do this knock on the roof, i.e. send a mortar down first and then follow it up with an airstrike, or call people and warn them to leave. But invariably there are civilian casualties, and it's very difficult to be precise in this kind of an area.
The issue of UNRWA schools has been quite a sensitive one between both the United Nations and Israel. The UN has come out a couple of times during this conflict and said that it has found rockets or weapons inside UN schools, and that Palestinian groups should not, or the factions should not be using them for these sorts of activities. But in this case, it seems that a place that people thought was a safe haven, somewhere they could take their families, it turns out it hasn't been the case.
Has there been any comment yet, Nicole, from Israeli authorities?
No, at this stage we haven't had any confirmation from Israel about what took place. No doubt they'll be looking into this at the moment. If it is the case, as it does appear to be, I mean, this would be a horrific kind of public relations blow for Israel, which is, as much as possible, trying to portray it as conducting some kind of moral or just war on Gaza.
I would argue that given conditions in the Middle East, this might be more dangerous than any time in the past. Not only conditions domestically within Israel, but also the fact that Egypt is really not playing the role they traditionally have. Countries like Qatar and others that could play a role. So we obviously want to do what we can to bring an end to this conflict. But, Candy, it's very important to understand there's no moral equivalency here. Israel is being attacked by hundreds of rockets. Their people, a third of their population has got about a 60-second warning. Picture the United States of America with a country contiguous to ours that we're being subjected to rocket attacks. So the restraint of the Israelis, in my view, is admirable. And
Anytime we've had these sorts of events that have really garnered international attention, Israel has had to take a step back and then try and justify itself, explain itself. The other two big occasions have been the 4 children who are on the beach in Gaza, just very close to where we are at the moment. And there's also been attacks on hospitals that we know of. 5 people were killed in a hospital at Deir al-Balah in the central part of the Gaza Strip. So Israel is coming under increasing criticism for these sorts of, be they mistakes or misfires or, unlikely to be a deliberate attack on a United Nations school, but it's going to be difficult for Israel to explain this one.
Emergency services were struggling today to deal with the situation in Gaza. This must be adding even more of a strain to forces are available there.
Thanks to Iron Dome, which is an Israeli-U.S. cooperation result, there has not been casualties, but the patience of Bibi Netanyahu, as well as the fact that he is getting pressured from the more conservative wing of his coalition, this is more dangerous, I think, than at any time in the past.
That's right. Some good news, though, at least in the Gaza area. Ambulance crews finally, after 1 or 2 days of bombardment there, were able to get into the central part of Gaza to try and bring out injured people. They also brought out some 7 bodies. They were able to spend quite a few hours in there. This is a wide agricultural area that's been heavily hit by tank shelling.